You talk about these big, influential, larger-than-life personalities and how sometimes that's a pro and sometimes that's a con. What do you mean?
So in the final chapter of the book, we talk about how do you replace an Andy Grove or a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates. And their larger-than-life persona makes that very, very difficult in any organization. And honestly, we're not convinced that any of them did a good job at that. We think in the end they may have made mistakes. We think the verdict is still out in the case of Tim Cook. But if you think about what they did, they each chose the individuals in their company whom they were closest to, who were their good friends, who we describe as their complements rather than their substitutes. They were the individuals who were critical to making them successful and not necessarily the right people to replace them. So in the case of Steve Ballmer, he was the perfect complement to Bill Gates. He was a people person, he was a customer-oriented person, whereas Bill was the technologist and the strategist. In the case of Andy Grove, he was the strategy guy, he was the guy who built the brand Intel Inside, and Craig Barrett was the operations manufacturing person. He's the one who allowed Intel to scale, which it did very, very successfully. And of course, Tim Cook was the natural complement to Steve Jobs. Apple never could have scaled without Tim Cook's strength in the supply chain and his operational experience. And it's clear, I think, that Intel and Microsoft today would say they may not have made the best choices for their successors. With Tim Cook, we think the verdict is still out. It's not clear. I think we'll have a better sense in 6 or 9 months when we see how well the Apple Watch does, because that's really Tim's first real effort to show that he is Steve's replacement. And we don't really know yet, but I think by the end of the year we'll have a sense of whether he really is a worthy replacement for Steve.